Hi, welcome back to GP Reactions. Hope you're well, and as always, thank you for subscribing. So I'm going to be listening to a bit of Madness now, and this is a track that came from an album around about September 1980 called Absolutely, and it entered the UK Top 40 in mid-September, and around about mid-October it kind of peaked at number 3. And I do know this track. I haven't seen this video since probably Top of the Pops when I watched it back in the day, and I'm kind of really interested to see how it kind of pans out and see if there's anything I can sort of glean from it. So yeah, looking forward to this. This is Madness with Baggy Trousers. Okay, I don't remember this.
Baggy trousers? Ha! Baggy trousers! Baggy trousers?
Yep, that's mad.
Naughty boys in nasty schools, headmasters breaking all the rules, having fun and playing fools, smashing up the woodwork tools. All the teachers in the pub, passing man a ready rub, trying not to think of when the lunchtime bell will ring again. Oh, what fun we...
I need to ask a question. Can somebody please tell me what Ready Rub is? I was possibly too young back then to understand it, and I'm probably kind of too old now to acknowledge the existence of whatever it might be. So if somebody can please tell me that, I'd be very happy. Thank you.
Think of when the lunchtime bell will ring again. Oh, what fun we had, but did it really turn out bad? All I learnt at school was how to bend, not break the rule. Oh, what fun we had, but at the time it seemed so bad. Trying different ways to make the difference through. The headmaster's had enough today. All the kids have gone away, gone to fight with next to school. Every term that is the rule. Sits alone and vents his cane. Same old backsides again. All the small ones tell two tales. Walking home and squashing snails. Oh, what fun we had, but did it really turn out bad? All I learnt at school was how to bend, not break the rule. Oh, what fun we had, but at the time it seemed so bad. Trying different ways to make sure it was through the days. Lots of boys, lots of smells and lots of noise. Playing football in the park, kicking push bikes after dark. Baggy trousers, dirty shirt, pulling hair and eating dirt.
So I'm just going to pause it there. There's a couple of kind of just watching this, it just takes me right back. I was probably around the kind of same age as most of those kids. 1980 I would have been, I would have been about 13 years old, going on towards 14. And this video just kind of brings it all back. The headmaster with his cane, and it did used to always be the same kind of boys who would I don't recall any girls having a cane, but some boys just never kind of learn a lesson. The cane was actually a really good deterrent to most children, but you'd always have like a hardcore small group of lads who they didn't really kind of have their frontal lobes advanced at that time, so they generally kind of went from one crisis to another, from one mischief to another. And I kind of loved that about school back then. But school, as you can probably see from this video, school wasn't a safe place that it is now, and the elements were there to be explored, and the environment was there to challenge you. Things have changed a lot, a hell of a lot, I'm guessing.
Teacher comes through breaking up, back up the end with a plastic cup. Oh, what fun we had, why did it really turn out bad? All I learnt at school was how to bend, not break the rule. Oh, what fun we had, but at the time it seemed so bad. Trying different ways to make the difference through the days. Baggy trousers,
So that was Madness with Baggy Trousers, and this video is actually, it's almost like an historical document now. Apart from the kind of humour of the lyrics, if you just kind of watched the video, this, I can assure you that this was exactly what pretty much every comprehensive school kind of looked like back in 1980, and it's really interesting because it's such a fun video with such a fun lyrics, but if you kind of consider that the year before, I think probably just approximately a year before, Pink Floyd had Another Brick in the Wall from, I think it was that from the album of the same name, I'm not sure, but anyway, that the Another Brick in the Wall hit #1 just before the Christmas of 1979, and it kind of looped over into 1980, and it was one of those songs that sort of teachers would actively discourage their students, their pupils, not to engage with, not to sing. It was kind of like anti-school, I suppose, and the whole kind of feel about Another Brick in the Wall was like horror. I remember the dark sarcasm in the classroom, and it almost feels like Madness with Baggy Trousers was the antidote to that, and also Madness with Baggy Trousers may have been the antidote to the film Scum, which was also out in, I believe, 1979. Oh, and we had Quadrophenia as well. So there's a lot of kind of anti-establishment types of movies out as well, British movies, and particularly Quadrophenia with the Mods and the Rockers, and Scum was obviously, it was kind of, I mean, it was a shocking film, and I never saw it until years later, but it was kind of designed to kind of give you the idea that Borstal was a horrific place to go, but also that, you know, it was to be I can't think what it used to call the main person in Borstal. I think Ray Winston was. It used to be like a really kind of cool characters made out to look kind of cool, the top dog, and this was kind of like reflected at school. So come 1980, we had you had your mods, you had your rockers, and you had your skinheads, and kind of like, and then you had everybody in between, and the kind of styles were obviously for the skinheads you had I think they're called Haringey jackets, and they had like the kind of like a tartan thing going on inside, and they were black, and it's quite a cool kind of like fashion really. And obviously the mods had their parkas, and we had a few rockers at the school as well. So I mean, like heavy metal was still kind of like very prevalent in 1980. The Jam were the kind of idols of the mods, and then you kind of had like the skinheads who groups like Madness and Specials were a Selector. We're all kind of like up there with their kind of taste in music, amongst other things, of course. I mean, there's a lot older sort of ska music that went back way before that, but yeah, I really kind of see this video as an antidote to some of the more darker aspects of 1979 and British culture. And the Madness boys looked like they had a lot of fun. And yeah, as I noted halfway through, you have to, you can't deny that when you look at this video, that health and safety didn't kind of like exist that much. You got girls smoking. They were probably like sixth form age, I would have thought, maybe a little bit younger. You got kids running around, playing footballs, running down streets. And that's kind of like what it was. We were kind of free to discover our own danger, and so yeah, it really kind of brings back some memories. It is like an historical document set to music. I still want to know what Ready Rub is. So yeah, I mean the actual music itself, I kind of love the Madness guys because they're such good kind of musicians. I'm not sure kind of how. I mean, it sounds like a polished sort of sound. It doesn't sound like they've literally just picked up instruments. This was actually their second album. And I'm kind of thinking that they really kind of knew what they were doing when it came to performing and singing, and so the visual kind of performance is always like really fun to watch as well. They had this kind of really weird style of dancing. I'm sure it's like, I don't know. The word moon stomp kind of like comes to my head. I love the beginning of the video as well when they kind of zoom in the assembly hall. And again, for anyone who kind of like lived in the UK at that time, you'd know that assembly halls were either places where you got told off en masse, or they represented that moment in the year when, just before the summer holidays, when you kind of gather for that big speech from the headmaster, and then you could all disappear to cause mayhem at home rather than at school. Yeah, so I just love it. I love everything about this video. And it's the first time I've seen this video in since Top of the Pops 1980. I generally don't kind of like, I generally listen to kind of more music than watch videos. So watching a lot of these videos from this time, it's either that long, 40 years since I've watched it, or and it's kind of vaguely remembering. So this is kind of like a real nostalgic kind of revisit for me, and it's great to kind of like look back at tracks like Madness in the context of what else kind of came before. As I said, like Quadrophenia, you had Scum, you had Pink Floyd's Brick in the Wall, and this felt like the antidote to all of that, as I said. So yeah, I love this. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and please join me. Please join me in the comments below, because I'd love to hear what your thoughts and feelings were about this song. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed this, and till next time, take care of yourselves, and I will speak to you all soon.